Hey folks, so welcome to another AKS Me Anything. Today we're here with Paul Miller, who looks a lot after our areas of networking, previously also upgrade, and so exciting areas. What have you and the team been doing on the past week?
So we've been doing, just the regular rigmarole, like shipping new patches for Calico. We're now mirroring Calico instead of building our own. But other stuff, we are moving over into Dalek so that we can actually build faster and have more up-to-date base images and fix CVEs faster.
That's pretty cool. So I don't think folks will know about it. So what is Dalek?
Dalek is a build kit built on top of Docker that basically says, hey, we're going to build this on top of the latest Microsoft base images.
Yeah.
We're going to build these in Microsoft Go and make you FIPS compliant so that you always have crypto libraries coming from the host image.
Very good. How does that help me with patching?
So with patching, it goes and says, hey, I'm going to automatically put you on the newest base image. Boop, push you out. I don't have to make any change to any actual spec file.
All right, I can see that. That makes a lot of sense. So we're moving all of our build pipelines for all of our components into... Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Eventually, we'll also patch Go modules too. It doesn't do that today, but that's coming up where it's going to say, hey, I detected a CV in this Go module. I'm going to automatically float that Go module and try and build you again. Obviously, put you through a test pipeline, hopefully. And then take
Hopefully.
it out. Hopefully.
Yeah, that part is important.
Yep.
So we did patches to Calico. We're integrating components to Dalek. What else?
So the other thing we're looking at in the networking space is expanding pod sitters.
Okay.
So we have overlay. It's been very successful. Our default overlay pod space is actually a little bit small because we didn't want to change the default out from underneath of people and surprise them.
Right.
But what we can allow you to do coming up in the next couple of weeks is take it and say, I want to go from, I think it's a /16 up to a 15, 14, whatever you have space inside of your VNet. Well, not inside your VNet, whatever you want to not hide inside your VNet. Because anytime you expand your overlay, you're going to hide a little bit of your other private IP space.
Of course. And so what that does is if you, for some reason, started, because we give you the option to set up your own space, but if you go with the default or something like that, and now you find that you need more, you're going to be able to increase it. Very good.
No rebuilding your cluster or anything like that. Not even any rolling node images. Should just set it. You should get new pod sitters coming from it.
Very good. You also mentioned correctly that we've been pretty happy and pretty successful with overlay, which is kind of, I always talk about it a little bit as our evolution to KubeNet, the non-routable option of our CNI. Do you want to talk a little bit about why we think it's so cool?
Yeah, so KubeNet was a weird thing that we kind of made up. Really, it's a route table plus the reference CNI host IPAM plugin and bridge plugin. And those worked well for a while, but there's definitely limitations on the route tables in Azure in that you can only have so many entries. And we're coming to having customers saying, like, yeah, I really want to expand, or also, don't mess with my route table. Why are you putting all these entries into my route table? This is my route table. It's not for you guys. So we're basically saying, well, we can do this behind the scenes. You don't need to worry about it. We're going to give you something that acts very similar, but scales to millions of IPs. We don't think we can make a cluster large enough to actually test the scaling overlay, which, bold claim. We'll see. So big scale, and then a lot less impact on the customer's VNet and their route tables. So it's a much more pure overlay than KubeNet ever was.
Okay. And how does it, so usual overlays, because Kubernetes, as you mentioned, is kind of not really a true overlay. There have been a lot of solutions out there, usually things like VXLAN-based tunnels and stuff like that. How does it compare to that?
Thank you for throwing me that softball so I can hit it out. So most overlays are going to do some sort of encapsulation. They're going to take your packet, wrap it in something, and then send it over to a node. Wrapping packets has extra cost on the wire and extra complexity. We were just talking, am I allowed to talk about OpenAI?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, we were just talking with OpenAI. They were using Cilium in a non-managed way, and they were hitting lots of performance problems as they were VXLAN encapsulating everything.
Of course.
So we're talking to them about, do you want to move over to managed Cilium, which can use our native overlay, and then kind of get that performance bump from that.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Because I do think they're going to take so much benefits from a lot of those changes. That's cool. And that's a bit of a primer of why everybody should be using overlay, especially if you don't have any needs. Let me actually ask you that question. In which conditions should you not use overlay?
Yeah, so if you have a bunch of stuff in your VNet that wants to talk directly to pods, then that's what node subnet and pod subnet are for.
Right.
They're going to give you pods that are actually inside of your VNet. You can address them directly. Now, a lot of times you don't need to address pods directly. You can set up a load balancer service and go talk to things. That keeps your cluster encapsulated. But if you got stuff that wants to go talk to it, then that's important. The other case is if you are doing multi-cluster and you want a flat network between clusters, that's really your only option today. There is a lot of stuff coming that can maybe do that in other ways, and we can talk about that later. But right now, if you want to do multi-cluster and have pods talk to each other, that's your only option.
Very cool, very cool. And that's interesting. So we talked about expansion of CIDRs. We talked about patching. Anything else?
Those are the concrete things we're doing. Oh, well, I guess there is a application gateway integration with overlay.
Very cool.
So before, since it's an overlay, nobody outside the cluster understood the pods inside, but application gateway wants to send traffic directly to your pods. So we did a thing where they can basically extend and put their proxies inside of your cluster and actually go talk to your pods. This was the last thing we thought that people were still kind of stuck on KubeNet for. Now this should free them up to move over to overlay. And I think it's also going to be great for application gateway and people that are using application gateway.
Yeah. Which is for, again, if anyone doesn't know the distinction, there's actually two different types of integrations with application gateway. One more legacy one that we don't really recommend, which had the acronym AGIC, application gateway ingress controller. We definitely prefer that everyone migrates off of that to the newer AGC, application gateway for containers, which is the one that has just received as well the integration with overlay. Pretty excited about that. It was pretty much the only thing that had some ability to be done in KubeNet with some route table changes, which again, not great.
Route table hackery,
Yeah, but now it's fully supported in AGC as well. So talk about concrete stuff that the team is working. What are you most excited about for the future?
Yeah, so Cilium is really kind of coming along a lot, so we're trying to figure out how does that become our mainline CNI. We see Azure CNI as kind of an IPAM solution now, so get you overlay IPs, get you node subnet, pod subnet IPs. But as we push Cilium to kind of be the default thing that we want people to have, there's a lot of stuff opening up on what Cilium can do that we've not actually done yet. So there's L7 stuff coming in, there is security stuff coming in.
L7 stuff means what?
L7 means I can actually go do network policies based on L7.
Okay, very good.
There is some other L7 stuff around Gateway API that we're still kind of talking about. But there's a lot of interesting stuff and just a lot of possibilities there. We may not do it all, but once we have Cilium as kind of our base, there's a lot of interesting stuff we can do. So we're kind of really excited about that.
Nice, very good. Anything else?
I had one other thing on. So I'm going to use Cilium to talk about another thing that I'm really excited about is Cilium and Ambient are both giving us new ways to try and group clusters together. So Ambient has a way to say, hey, let me take and have waypoints, share information, share traffic between clusters. Cilium also has a cluster mesh that it can kind of join clusters together.
Yeah.
So we're looking at both of those to see what is the future of multi-cluster mesh networking. That's got a lot of interest.
Talk a bit about, for folks that don't know what ambient means.
Yeah, so I'm not the best person here. You should have Mitch on here later.
I'll try to find him and get him in.
I'll drag him in here. I know where he lives. Ambient is the evolution of Istio where instead of having sidecars, your L4 traffic is routed through a per node proxy.
Yep.
And then if you want to do L7 stuff on top of that, you go through an envoy that exists outside of the node.
Okay.
This simplifies your mesh a lot. It gets you kind of encryption, MTLS by default. But also because you are now sending a lot of stuff through those waypoints, you can use those waypoints to move between clusters. The Cilium cluster mesh works in a very different way where you still have to have a flat node network.
Okay.
And then Cilium is going to say, I know this pod's actually on this other cluster, and I know about all the nodes over there. Let me go redirect that traffic. So no proxies in between, but you're going to have a flat network. This goes back to our conversation about node subnet, pod subnet. How do you organize that network?
Right.
A little bit complicated, but still very powerful in that you're not using anybody's proxy. You're just going straight there.
Right. Very good. And so we're trying to also see together with the community, like if there's a right direction and which one might be.
Yep.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for the time to do it. It's now getting late in the Friday, so I appreciate you spending a bit more extra time with us. As always, please like and subscribe to our AKS community. And if you have any suggestions for future topics or anyone that you'd like me to, using Paul's word, drag in here and interview, let us know. Thank you so much. Have a rest of a good week.
Cheers.